bound.
Hey guys, Eric Tarr here for theproaudiofiles.com. In this video I'll be demonstrating how to process the stereo image of your mix to tighten up the low end and make your overall mix larger than life. So far in this project I've been using the iZotope Ozone 5 plugin to enhance my mix, clean it up, and control the dynamic range. Here's what I've got so far.
Trouble bound. We hit the town. I'll never forget that sound. Tonight I fell asleep and
the stereo image is something that's a very important part of a great mix. However, when you're working on the mastering stage, the stereo image is something that's very easy to screw up, especially with things like compressors and limiters that can change the stereo image in a bad way. So you should always use them very carefully and intentionally. However, you can change the stereo width of your mix in a good way, especially at specific frequency regions that can take a good mix and make it a great mix. So let's look at the plugin now. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the module and turn it on here. This is a multi-band processor, just like the dynamics and the harmonic exciter. So you can change the stereo width of different frequency regions. Up here you'll notice the visualizations. This is the energy that's happening at different frequency regions. I can also switch over then to this view. That's going to provide the stereo spectrum, and you can see how wide the stereo image is in each one of these regions. And so we'll look at this. It's a great one, I think, to see really what's going on. You can also watch the correlation trace. This is going to tell you if your two channels, your left and your right, are out of phase, which can be a problem, especially with mono compatibility. So you always want to watch this. Another great visualization. So I'll work with this one to begin with. Right off the bat, I know one important thing that I always recommend for pop rock music is you really want your low frequency to be tight and in the center. These are things like your kick drum and your bass guitar, which are almost always panned to the center. So you don't want those being very wide. You don't want them going to the left channel and right channel differently. You want them to be exactly the same. So it's almost always my recommendation to make this much narrower. So when I play it back, it can sound really funny or really loose if you make it wider here. Strange things can be happening. Tighten it up right in the center. Sounds much better.
I woke up just in time with chills darting down my spine. So take me down, and my feet will follow wherever my...
So that's just another trick you can use to really tighten up the low end and lock it in. After that, it's just a matter of trying out what you think sounds good and what you think sounds better. So again, this low mid frequency region is where a lot of my vocals and my melodic instruments are living. Up here, I have more of the cymbals and harmonics of different instruments. And the high frequencies, that's really the brightness and the brilliance of the track. So it's really a matter of figuring out, well, for instance, do I want my vocals to be wide? You know, this is even something that could be automated. During the verse, I tighten up the center of the low mids, and during the chorus, I broaden it out. How are my reverbs? Do I want my reverbs to sound extra wide on the vocals, or do I want them to sound narrower? That sort of thing. Depends on whether I want to widen it or narrow it. Then you have things like the cymbals in the high mids. Do I want the cymbals to be extra wide? You know, that's a typical thing. You want your drums to be, larger than life. This is a great area to widen it out. And then the high frequencies, it might be the case that depending on what energy and what instruments are living up there, you might want to widen it, you might want to narrow it. So I'll try out some of these things and see what I can figure out.
Trouble bound. We hit the town. I'll never forget that sound. Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel. I woke up just in time with chills starting to my spine. So take me down and my feet will follow. I'll come around like I always. I'll get my feet on the ground. I'll get my feet on the ground. Yeah.
So what I've been able to do here, especially using this upper mid frequency region, is it's really just going to make the mix open more up, let it breathe a little bit more. It has more space for different instruments now in the stereo field and that sort of thing. I don't want to get too crazy down here in the low mids because that's where my vocals are, and I don't want the vocals to sound anywhere but directly in the center. So I'm very careful with that one. But I get more creative here with the higher ones, and I like what that's doing. It just seems like it's opening up the whole stereo field, just providing a little bit more interest, more space for different instruments to fit in with each other. So I'll play it back and show you what it's doing again here.
Trouble bound, we hit the town. I'll never forget that sound. Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
So without doing anything too crazy, I think what I've done is been able to really enhance my mix and open it up and make more space for the different instruments. And that's all there is really to it. It's just a matter of trying it out, experimenting. You know, this module is very simple, easy to use, and there's nothing wrong with your mix figuring out what works and what doesn't work, trying out different things and experimenting. So stay tuned for the next video where I'll discuss how to use EQ to balance the frequency spectrum of your mix.